Health Minister Greg Hunt says there's no plans to make sure people who are travelling to Australia are vaccinated before they arrive. Kenny Heatley joins us from Sydney now. Kenny, good morning. Sydney's second day of vaccinations begins soon.
Pete, I was here yesterday. This is the entrance to the RPA in Camperdown Vaccination Hub, and there was a steady stream throughout the morning of hotel quarantine workers, frontline healthcare workers, quarantine police officers coming in and getting vaccinated. The plan yesterday here was to vaccinate 500 of those critical frontline workers, but the plan today is to double that to 1,000. So they're ramping up across these 3 vaccination hubs today here at RPA, also at Westmead Hospital and Liverpool Hospital. Dr Kerry Chant, the New South Wales Chief Health Officer, said yesterday that 2021 is going to be a year of transition. And interestingly, she said, if the vaccines arrived during the Northern Beaches outbreak, then maybe things would have been different and they could have used the vaccination as a tool to perhaps target that particular area. So if there's any further outbreaks, they could potentially use the vaccines as a response there. But there's also questions around hotel quarantine and if those numbers are going to be increasing now that the vaccination is starting to roll out, especially in hotel quarantine. Well, Greg Hunt said there's no plan at this stage, but he hopes that it may happen in the future. Take a listen.
The vaccination won't change the pace at which they come home overseas because the world is looking at that transmissibility advice, and the advice that we have from what's known as the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee, the medical expert panel, is that for the time being, vaccinated or unvaccinated, people will continue to go through hotel quarantine.
And of course, that would have to come in agreement with the states anyway. But also, are there any plans to make sure Australians are vaccinated before they enter hotel quarantine and arrive in Australia? His comments on that.
Look, at this stage, we are vaccinating in Australia. The Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade is considering the question of those Australians who are serving overseas. And of course, what we're looking at is bringing Australians home.
Of course, the restriction settings and the hotel quarantine and people returning from overseas, that is going to have to be assessed pretty much on a weekly basis now that parts of the population are getting vaccinated. But in terms of restriction settings in New South Wales, they couldn't tell us yesterday as to how much of the population will need to be vaccinated before they change any restriction settings. But Dr Kerry Chant says that they review restriction settings in New South Wales on a daily basis.